The Raspberry Pi is a tiny computer which is brimming with potential. A vivid community has grown up around the Raspberry Pi and people have written software to turn it into all kinds of devices. One of the most tempting projects is to turn it into an emulator for playing classic arcade games. MAME4All-Pi is a version of the MAME arcade emulator which is especially written for the Raspberry Pi and is built into several arcade downloads. We're going to use Raspberry-Cade, which is optimized for performance. You can download the Raspberry-Cade disk image from SourceForge, then you need to use software to write that disk image to a 4GB micro SD card. The Raspberry Pi doesn't feature any built-in storage, it runs everything from the card. Use Win32 Disk Manager or RPI SD Card Builder for Mac to write the Raspberry-Cade image to the card. The first time you boot up the Raspberry Pi from your micro SD card, you'll need a USB keyboard attached. You can say no to these two options for now and worry about them later. Now Raspberry-Cade will launch. After this startup sequence, you'll see Emulation Station. It runs the menus which let you switch between different arcade machines and choose games to play. You'll find MAME4All-Pi already installed for playing arcade games, along with emulators for several home game consoles and a video player. A few games are already installed in MAME and it's not hard to add more. It supports the classics like Space Invaders and Pac-Man, although some are protected by copyright. To find games that will play smoothly in MAME4All-Pi, you should search the internet for 0.37b5 ROMs. You can then copy them to your Raspberry Pi via FTP. For now, we're going to stick with the pre-installed games. The first step in setting up Raspberry-Cade is to resize the image on the micro SD card so you can use all of the storage to make room for games. This involves getting your hands dirty with the command line, but it's not too difficult. Press F4 on the keyboard to exit Emulation Station and call up the command line. Now type sudo mobius.config. Choose the first menu option, resize SD partitions, to make extra room on the card for games. The Raspberry Pi will reboot twice to complete this process. Once this is done, you'll find yourself back in Emulation Station. Let's try a game as a test. Games in MAME are already configured to work with the keyboard. Raspberry-Cade is also set up to support USB controllers, or you could even wire up a joystick and buttons directly to the pins on the Raspberry Pi motherboard. To tweak the settings in MAME, press the Tab button. From here you can adjust MAME's global controls for every game, or you can go to the next menu item and adjust the controls just for this game. You can also scroll down and edit the dip switches to set unlimited credits, adjust the difficulty and make other changes. Some games also let you set cocktail mode, which flips the picture upside down for player 2 if you're sitting across from each other on an arcade table. You can press escape to get out of this menu and then escape again to quit the game and go back to Emulation Station. Once you've got Raspberry-Cade up and running, you might decide to wire up your own controllers or even drop a monitor into a coffee table to build your own tabletop arcade machine. It takes a while to get everything up and running smoothly, so building your dream arcade machine might make for the ultimate summer holidays project.